southwest side. It looks like teams may have listened to you here, Blank. A lot more teams heading out to the east.
Yeah, which is annoying for Team Spirit.
Yeah.
As they're not playing today. But yeah, this is a lot nicer. Again, for Fireflux, it makes sense to take the dock split, right? Currently, no one's working with it. It's a decent spot. You get Kampong, you get docks as well. It's a huge amount of space you get to play with. You can always make that rotate over towards the north side of Quarry. There's no reason not to pick up this position on the map. I'm glad that they have, and they're going to make good use of it. Trovo 2030, they pick up Boot Camp, and that is a hard shift over towards the northern side. Tough stuff. Twisted Minds holding the entirety of the northwest coast as Power slowly swims on over, paddles across the water to Hattin.
Yeah, they've been spotted out a little bit by 77. They were close by on the drop here, and I think that Power most likely just want to disengage and get across that bridge. They have got a player on the other side. Easy has gone west to the island. And I think 77 are probably more preoccupied with grabbing a little bit of loot to establish a block on that bridge. Still, potentially sightlines there to curtail a rotation. It will slow things down. Luckily, with the circle as hard north on this shift as it is, that allows Power some time to potentially break out towards Hattin. Heroic finding a shot over towards Falcons. This is all the way over towards Barn.
Yeah, Jafar takes down Ali. Nice and early. Weird spot is Barn, honestly. And for Falcons, though, this is a real wide split from them. Over towards Camp Bravo, and then sending two players down towards Barn. I think it makes a lot of sense for Heroic to want to stop that early, especially if you're playing over towards Lakawi in the first place. A lot of times, this is where you'll have this wide split coming through from Falcons, so they can come down towards the ridge side that looks over Lakawi and take shots to the team that's trying to leave. It is that ridge side that you would usually try to move over the top of. Drovo 2030 making a very fast rotate through 77, and I think actually finding a pickoff over towards 77 on Magnum. And it's S2G also getting involved from their position in Paris Resort, and they moved early, considering the circle itself.
Trovo 2030 trying to take control of this curved hill that sits around the water that you can see in front of you. There's 77 lying in wait a little bit, but Trovo are going to be able to get a point, and actually they're going to divert, go even further north, try and take the compound here. But look at this, there are two players in, Zadira and... who's that? It's Al-Haji. He's in the compound. So two different teams have solo players out in this one. And I do not think that either of them are going to get away with it. Zadira goes pretty even on the trade, but should be very resable here. Now they just need to be worried about Al-Haji.
Al-Haji from Power. Still has a sight line over towards Ragnarok. Wait for him to step out again. Just needs one shot here, but I think he has a good idea of where Al-Haji is. In goes the nade. The first one will do it from Yusuf. And Al-Haji was not stealthy enough. Detected inside the building. And demolished in the process.
Power's first game back, and they have been given anything but a warm welcome here. They're already down to two players. But Trovo 2030, really strong compound now, out on that west coast of the mainland, have potential transition routes over to that curved hill that sits out to their east, but I think S2G are more likely to look to take control of that if they leave from the lumberyard. We'll have to wait and see. Brute Force and RCB clashing. This is, again, over in Cow, this northeast side. Teams looking to try and find a foothold here. Brute Force spotting a player from RCB, getting that knock early. Chudo has a player close to him as well. He's cutting off the routes towards Silas, and I think this is a bleed out on RCB.
If RCB, they take down at least Brute Force. Silas, though, a little bit off in the distance there. It's be hard to return him to form. This is a tough wall to play off, though, for Chudo.
Oh, okay.
With a very quick two-step over the side of the wall, but it's a nice shot from Neos along the way, but instantly there's clap back. They see the muzzle spray, they see the muzzle fire, and will light up that light off in the distance.
They know where Prepod is as well, because those shots came in on crossfire. We were seeing that one angle, but now Prepod was on that opposing hill. Immediately they're dealt with. Heroic are going for a long rotate in the water out onto the north side, going to make landfall just to the east of Cow and could potentially run into Prepod as well. Shots come through from S2G. This is, again, embroiled in the midst of it all, over towards that lumberyard, the north side, and holding lumberyard in general. Very, very good news for S2G. Can they fend off everybody trying to make their way in?
Heroic, taking the opportunity whilst they can. Loxy, though, in a great position. Finds one and then two, but that's a good opening for RCB. Hard to capitalise off the back of with Wild and his teammate not quite in position to take the shots. Zell might be the dagger that takes down Heroic, though.
One knock is interrupted by Wild. Yet to be disarmed. Zell does go down. Heroic on the swivel. Losing two on that knock. That was really, really disgusting stuff, to be honest, around that container with the DBS. But they do manage to pull themselves back together. 4 players in. And RCB now only have one. Both Brute Force and RCB have done terribly in this cow position. And that's the last nade that Wild's going to see this game. Goes up in smoke, and that will be RCB eliminated.
Yeah, it is unfortunate. It is very unfortunate. RCB. Again, it's just been constant fighting over towards Cow. Brute Force original position. They lose 2 players. Everyone makes that eastern rotate. Try and swing on that right side of the map. But another west shift and Twisted Minds get a good deal here, with Hatin being the likely spot that the circle sent us up over towards. Na'Vi, though, they control that high ground down towards the south side. I like that position. You do need to be really cautious of teams rocking up to you, but I think Na'Vi is one of the better teams in the lobby when it comes to at least being very aware of their surroundings, being to scout them out early.
Should be able to handle it. Volt does get knocked, but should be fairly safe to go for this res. Pre-pod, Chudo for Brute Force. The 2 remaining players outlasted RCB, even though the scrap didn't go well for them against them. Vibes on the southeast side, they have Fireflux behind them, who are being slow to enter the circle. Falcons just ahead of them on the south of Paradise Resort now. As Coops, got spotted by Power. That is unfortunate. Twisted Minds do get flushed. A crossfire established onto both of these teams. Falcons falling out of the vehicles as soon as they cross paths with Vibes, but 2 of their players are down in response. Ragnar hopping in through the window, and they evaded. Hopes on the inside as well. I'm not too sure if they caught that bolt, but Falcons trying to keep this together now as Brute sits on the outside here. Mazzara is across the road. Hope cooks. Ragnar with a nade out the window already. Brute still bleeding out, and here comes Fireflux, third party on the blue side engagement.
Yeah, for Fireflux, this is a good opportunity for them to get a big opening onto this fight. They can then just rock on through. As the 4 players they've still got alive here, I mean, they are slowly ticking down with the blue. About to hurt a little bit, but getting out of it's not a long distance now. Just this fight ahead of them that they want to get through cleanly between Falcons and Vibes.
They're surrounding 2 solo players at this point. The question is, how fast do they want to get through cleanly, right? You definitely don't want to have too much trouble behind you, but at some point you're going to have to move. And with the circle favouring the Northwest Island, getting across the river may be a priority here for Fireflux, but looks like they do just want to crunch this one down, earn some points. They've already got 2. Putting up 4 would be a great result.
Fireflux. Scarface. I'm playing this so cautiously, man. And we really do not want to lose another player. Between Vibes and Falcons, this is kind of a tough fight because you're not really sure what either of these players are going to do because they're not working off the back of one another. Medkit on board, perfect timing for it. Mozero has to pull out a DPS but steps into a Molotov and into the sight lines of a shotgun himself.
Seems like they're aware there's still more danger lurking in the corners here. Ragnar knows as a player, spots the spray down, strays out, strafes across the window, and will not be able to find the second. This is Reservoir. It's stage 2. They can bandage up and keep on going. Fireflux do get rid of everybody else around that area, but they're going to have to move because look at where the circle sits now. it is going to be a little bit favouring over towards Hartin. Power, Na'Vi, and Twisted Minds, all with residents in Hartin right now, and they're glad that they've got that position. But those compounds out to the west may prove to be incredibly strong, and I think Power may think about dipping from Hartin, going out there as a duo. They are on foot. Vidal and Easy will run to the buildings to their west.
The circle shifting over towards that western side, it opens up a lot of compounds. I think a lot of teams weren't expecting. There was a huge amount of teams that headed up towards the northeast side of the map to try and figure out a way in, whereas it was only really Enigma Galaxy who opted down for the southwest bridge. And now there's that position, that nice compound that's just a little bit elevated from the rest, just to the northwest side of Power. Brute Force take a boat, and they'll be able to cross actually over towards the northern compound. But again, no one's in. There's two, make that three good compounds available in this circle that have just not been taken up by anyone here so far. Very curious stuff. Guild, though, I think is fairly aware of Enigma Galaxy's position.
They are certainly being cautious towards the angle. Enigma Galaxy going to have to push up along this long flat area of rock, the cliff top. Sits on this northwest island. Magna spots the buggy. Oh, sorry, a bike careening on forwards. They certainly know about it now. GG not GG, and Zero on the back line as well. Looking to step up for it. GG has the nade. Looks for the cook. Are they going to go long? I think they are clearing out a further ditch, but that is just about going to take some damage. They should have spotted that. Narvalo has a nade of his own. He knows how close this is. A good cook, but not quite finishing the job. The DBS, though, is good for it. Certainly revealing his position now, but Enigma Galaxy losing a player here. No teams yet rolling on in for a third party. Makes this nice and clean as a take. Can they get forwards to get Narvalo back up? I feel like it might be impossible. Snowix dropped down, actually. Down the cliff onto the bottom there. Will be very difficult to now leverage that against anybody else.
This is a weird one. I mean, for Snowix dropping down there, it's good because you can res in the water. So they will be able to get Narvalo back up again, but where do you go from there? Realistically, that's the hard thing. S2G trying to cross the waters, held out by Trovo 2030. Yeah, GG, not GG, kind of gets away with quite a lot there, let's be honest. Right up front, they saw the arcs from the nades. They're coming thick and fast. For Narvalo just to run up like that, it was somewhat overzealous. A little bit too aggressive. And Brute Force makes their way over towards that northwest compound, and no one stops them. They might have a free shout in towards the top 5 at this rate. So heading towards that next circle, which heads further up towards the northern side, still keeping a ton of water in play.
This is pretty nasty. I mean, so much water into stage 5 in Sandhawk. It's going to make things really, really hairy. Spray downs, Heroic. Continuing to do pretty well here, I would say, on this match. 7 eliminations. Enigma Galaxy tried to divert away, but Heroic more than happy to pick up the pieces of that bedraggled team. They still have, I think, 2 players. Those are the 2 players down the cliff. Heroic can play on just 4 from the southwest side. Power still holding a central and key compound, only as 2.
Power. Just the 1 elimination found, but a fairly safe spot to be working with that likely will get swarmed at some point. Still amusing to me that the compound off towards our left just hasn't been looked at, hasn't been crashed upon, no one really cares about it. And Twisted Minds were forced back over towards the northern side on the pontoons of Hartin, whereas Na'Vi completely consumes the entirety of Hartin for themselves.
Black Esports trying to move off the top of the mountain here. They know there's a threat across the way. That's Heroic in the compound that Kakali's currently scouting out to the west. Both of those 2 teams are going to have to move. Heroic mounting up, smoke coming from the vehicle there. They really can't afford to take too much gunfire, so they do need to be careful. Need to make sure that they're close to cover no matter where they go, but they're rolling straight up into the gunfire of Guild, who are further along the way. An immediate knock and a flush onto Walsh there as they roll up into the sidelines. Guild launching nades in as well. Kevin is low. Exo moves forwards here with the auto shotty. Low HP bars can cause some worry, but they get their healing done. Regroup needs to come through from Volt to try and back up the rest of his team, but Guild are playing as 4. They've got the backup there, isolates these sightlines, and that's a spray down onto the back for Guild. As Black Esports are going to chime in, they've taken this opportunity to move around the back, and they can guard out this entire fight.
I'm not entirely sure how Heroic got here. Remember, they're on the eastern side of the map, so this is just a very wide wrap for them into a big old crash, and Dexo with a 1-2-3 will keep his team alive. That is until you get Toshpik from Black Esports taking a nasty spray in the blue. He gets sat down. I'll have to fight another day. The circle moves over towards the east, so Heroic's crash was maybe not even necessary. Keeps the western side of Hattin in, though. So both Na'Vi and Fireflux meanly looking at one another from the first and second place of the podium.
Exo here, a replay on that. Goes for 1, turns on for a second, steps out. Really nice stuff there from Exo, playing the porch perfectly. Won't go down. Guild still, though, suffering. Despite their success on their western side. They've got 6 eliminations. Heroic were able to get 8, by the way, which is certainly not a tally you can be too disappointed in. But Guild do fall as well on the western side. Brute Force surviving still from their earlier engagements over towards Cow. They evaded RCB. I think they went for a boatation over the north side, and they managed to make landfall really quite successfully.
Yeah, it's purely because there's so little space taken up on the western side of the map, right? Everyone just opted that no one needed to go there. So Brute Force is having to pick that one up, and finally the compound I was talking about for quite some time, Black Esports, they picked that up one for themselves. Which you've got the lineup from Twisted Minds, Na'Vi, and Fireflux. Twisted Minds losing some players on their approach here on the pontoons. I don't know exactly. Twisted Minds got forced out from Hattin. I'm almost like a little bit confused by it.
He knows they're there. He's just waiting. He's daring them to step up. Oh dear. Easy spotted actually at range. Was that from Na'Vi? Okay. Pretty buildings as well then. Must have had some sort of sightline there. Lemon. He's got the rocks. Explosive ones at that. He's still cooking the nade. Send it over towards Lord and immediately airbursts. Knows exactly where Robs is. There's no way that Robs gets away. Surely you don't beat Lemon in this close range engagement. But it is Robs. Not going to happen though. Nice shutdown there. Lemon handles Twisted Minds on the north side. And that is not a good start to their final day for Twisted Minds. They only get the 1 elimination point. Placement's not too healthy either, but we've got 6 teams remaining and Na'Vi can regroup. Look to move along the coastline now.
I mean, what a wild circle this is as well. It moves away from every single compound out to the open grounds that slope down towards the ocean. Pretty nuts. Trovo, they pick up Lemon. He tries to scout out position, but at least now they know that there are players off in the distance and the rough location of them. It's Fireflux, 3-on-3 here. It's a good spray, and honestly, Flip cannot do anything. As for Scarface, he has been massively stepping up for Fireflux recently.
To my little friend, the Tommy gun, absolutely tearing Na'Vi a new one on the sides of Hattin. Fantastic stuff there from Scarface as he pushes Fireflux into a commanding position now, taking down their average point competitor and adding to their tally. 7 elims now. They want to keep up that 10-point average, but how much further can they go?
Fireflux is a great start. It's a really good start for them in these games. Lemon was the lone ranger that walked down. Easy crash, bumper, crushes Trovo 2030.
Oh dear. And there's the second, very, very quick. But Ketch does go down. I think that came through from Brute Force potentially. Black Esports getting pulled apart here. Nades going a little bit awry on the bounce, but the spray downs are good. A pickup for Fireflux as well. Have they just taken everyone else out? No, there's 3 teams still alive. Have you still got power with Bidan off in the distance? But Prepod should spot that. And Fireflux have 4. They get that res, they get the heal, and they're playing off now against Brute Force Duo.
Yeah, Brute Force has the circle and the high ground. This is a weird one. Fireflux needs to make good use of these nades, but a nice off angle from Chudo, actually. Scarface is kind of low. Nades are flowing over the top, but not getting too much done. And Brute Force with that rotation over the northern side, it was a cow circle to begin with. It's not ended up there, but Brute Force still looking to take potentially a chicken dinner home in a 2v4. It's one of the few situations where maybe they have a chance.
Look at the catch, and he finds him. Judo takes down the back leg of Fireflux. They're crawling back to look for the res. Spray down potentially. No, going to be in cover. The rocks hit up here, though, are very, very nadeable, which is what forced Prepod back off that smoked rock. You can see that wall of smoke that sits on the rock that Prepod had, which was centered the circle. It goes a little bit more to Fireflux now, keeps the coastline in, and that allows them a lot more power. But similarly to the rocks, those cliff tops are very nadeable as well.
This is difficult. There's 2 nades on Judo. I didn't catch how many there are on Prepod, but they sort of have to wait for zone 9 before they start tossing these ones out. They're not finding much value from it. It's a good smoke up front. MG32 on Judo. Great weapon to have in a 2v4. About the need to drop a reload in the midst of all that. Here's this nade. It has to be big from Judo. It needs closing moments.
A trade-off, though. It goes even, and Fireflux will not let it slip away from them. They lay claim to this top spot. They want to keep it on going with a big chicken dinner to go. They got 12 eliminations that match. When you add on those final 2, Blank, they are up to 22 points. This match puts them on 144, and that is going to be a real statement made towards Na'Vi.
That's a nice game from Fireflux. Honestly, very, very nice game from them. It got a little bit scary towards the end there, and I think they kind of got a little bit lucky with the way they were on the south side. Whereas Na'Vi had pushed further up because they expected that hut-in finish with the north side being a little bit more protected, honestly. But yeah, weird game overall. Did not expect that kind of circle finish. Did not expect Brute Force to get second place either, but there you go. And that was a team that I wanted to see more out of.
That is true, actually. Brute Force, they kind of lost the engagement over in Cal with RCB, right? And then they got third parties and they sort of just disappeared into the ether, only to re-emerge in second place with, I think, was it like 7 or 8 eliminations? So fantastic stuff for Brute Force to capitalize on what was a pretty last-ditch attempt game and make lemonade out of lemons. Certainly making lemon look like a lemon across the way. Na'Vi not able to escape from hearts in the clutches of Fireflux, which is too strong.
Yeah, it was a good game. Honestly, it could rotate from Brute Force over towards that compound on the northwest side, but it was a Hail Mary. Because if I'm Brute Force and I'm rocking over towards that compound, I'm like, oh god, there's going to be people here. There's going to be squads that have not opted to go for that eastern rotation, instead have gone for the west bridge. But no one was there. No one even bothered to try and take that side of the map over the Enigma Galaxy, who ran directly into Guild. And I think, again, that's another team that could have had a straight shot to one of the compounds further on the north side. They're also scared that there should be teams there, but they just weren't. Looking at Fireflux, though, 2,218 healing. They were through the ringer this game, but they come out of it with 12 elims and 21 minutes 36 average survival time.
That is nice to see for Fireflux as well. They come straight back into the games. They come straight out with a chicken dinner. 142 points, that puts them on as well, exceeding their averages and catching up to Na'Vi. Scarface, 7 eliminations. I mean, we saw it was able to do with the Tommy gun on the exit against Na'Vi as well. Kelsey, though, most nade eliminations for S2G, as they were able to rack up to, and Prepod for Brute Force will be able to find highest damage. So quite a well-distributed set of accolades here for our match report.
Yeah, I think for Scar MVP, this is kind of the big one, realistically, for me. I enjoy the way that he has been consistently stepping up. And it used to be a case where he was a very good long-range specialist, but now he's even taken that further. He's great in close quarters too. With the 12 elims, they got in that game 22 points right at the beginning of it. Very nice 13th match for them.
Trovo 2030 as well, getting 6 eliminations, 9 points. Continually just adding to their tally, quite quietly, but very effectively. Second page, Twisted Minds. It's unfortunate what happened to them over in Hatin, especially given where the circle finished. They weren't able to keep control of it. They weren't able to take away the threats that encroached upon them. They had power visiting. They left a little bit earlier, but Na'Vi and Fireflux both took Hatin away from Twisted Minds, and that's a little bit disappointing. I feel like Twisted Minds could have had a stronger hold onto their position. They were there quite early, and they had a lot of opportunity to do so, but they couldn't establish that southern border.
Yeah, no, which is always the difficult thing to do. And I mean, when the circle moves like that, it's always a lot nicer to be able to just swing out on that south side. And I think Na'Vi tried to probe over towards 2030 whilst keeping tabs over towards Fireflux, because Fireflux wasn't really looking to make a move. But yeah, look at that. Numbers all across the board. Pretty much every team tried to get something done this match. It's just with Fireflux, when you get towards that end game, when you are that team with the most amount of players, you are just going to suck up the final few points at the end, and that's what takes them to 12 elims. But they played that game very well, even when it got very tricky versus Brute Force. I think that they turtled up. When the final circle came on side, though, where it was like giving them a little bit more space to play around, that's when things changed. And I think Fireflux understood that they had to wait out another circle to see what happens then, and then go for that.
Well, we're going to see what happens in the future as well, because we've got more matches to play. Before that, we've got a quick break. It's Erangel up next. Stay tuned. Fireflux have opened the bidding strong. They come through on after their day off with a 22-point game, a chicken dinner for Fireflux, and a statement to Na'Vi. Twisted Minds, they were swept aside and caught in the mix of it all, as well as Na'Vi and Fireflux pushed them out of Hard Tin. But now we're moving over on to Erangel, Blank. We are getting ready for the grassy pastures once more.
Once more getting over to the old Classico on Erangel. Fireflux, they come back into the lobby, instantly get a chicken dinner. So it sounds like it's been a nice day off for them. Very relaxing, very chilled out. To come straight back into this one, then just pick yourself up. 22 points right off the bat. It is a fantastic way to start the day here. Here's our head-to-head. I believe this is from... Okay, so this is from today and also the previous day, which is on their left. So that would be day 2 for Fireflux on your left here, which is 1,268 average damage. And right now, after that Sandhawk game, it's 1,661, 12 elims, and first average placement. We'll see how this evolves as the day goes on. Maybe we can check back in with this at game 5. But yeah, for Fireflux, already starting things off very well. And honestly, an average of 4th place in terms of their averages over the past 2 days that they played. Really good. Really damn good.
You know what I was surprised about there is that obviously, well, Sandhawk is shorter map, but it was a 25.5-minute average survival time over their previous days. And today, when they've only come first, it's a 21.5-minute average survival time. So they are actually behind on their average survival time. So you know what they'll need to do? That's right, unleash the beast at www.monsterenergy.com/game. Our sponsor here, PMSL EMEA, as we head on into Erangel for the first time today. It is still all to play for those top spots to earn as many league ranking points as you can. The last day of games for Twisted Minds, for Na'Vi, as well as Guild, coming in today with their last chance to put points on the board. Trovo 2030 as well. I think that is the quiet outside track team that hasn't really made too much noise, but have kept up pace with some of the best teams in this lobby.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking at this map, though, already a bit of a weird playing path, and we've seen plenty of teams actually taking Zarkijon, which has been a weird one for me. I think this time, though, Falcons are just going to move over towards that eastern side and pick up Severny nice and early. Happy days. For Na'Vi, heading down towards Sosnovka, easy pickup for them in Sosnovka. Considering Virtus Pro are in the lobby, they're not going to have to deal with them in Novorobnoye, and actually could even play from that position. A lot of loot to be had there, with ideal rotational paths being very close to that eastern bridge. So this is a good thing for Na'Vi, just on the group side of things.
Brute Force could potentially drop in over towards Novo and cause some issues there. Looks like Twisted Minds are out late. Are they heading for the farm split without Team Spirit there? Potential opening on that front. Doran's out very, very late to gather up with Twisted Minds. They potentially... No, they're just going to grab some vehicles. I think Doran as well just wants to find a vehicle from the military island and get gone as soon as possible. Might have trouble, though, with Prepod on the northern side. Another mill to